Beginning with the arrival of European powers to Madagascar, Great Britain and France both developed ambitions to control the country, which was a rich island with strategic importance in regard to sea passage towards India. Despite this, the Marina Kingdom of Madagascar had steadfastly managed to maintain its independence during the 19th century. Due to tropical diseases, diverse terrain, and an organized military, Madagascar had remained independent, and King Radamana had invited the British to help the country develop in 1820, and France got pretty jealous. In the 1820s through 60s, Madagascar's politics were quite messy, so bear with me for a little bit. In 1828, Queen Ranavalona I repelled French attacks on the coastlines, and upon her death, her son succeeded her as King Radamana II in 1861. As prince, he had already made concessions to Joseph Francois Lambert, a Frenchman who had resided at Ranavalona's court and assisted in the development in numerous resources. The Lambert Charter conceded significant tracts of land, and he was overthrown in a coup in 1863, where Queens Ravalona II and III seized power. The Marina monarchy then revoked the charter and vigorously attempted to resolve the issue through negotiations and diplomacy, relying heavily on support from their British and American trading partners. They sent ambassadors to England and France to try to resolve the claims, but the French government refused and accepted nothing less than the full terms of the treaty, and it was game time for the French. In the early 1880s, the French growing interest in the regions got the better of them, and many political factions advocated for an invasion of Madagascar in order to suppress British influence there. The non-respect of the Lambert Charter and the letter to Napoleon III were used by the French as a pretext to invade Madagascar in 1883. You see, various disputes also helped trigger this intervention. The minority Sakalavas remained faithful towards the French protectorate in the north part of the island, and a French national was killed on the island. Additionally, the Marina placed an order for the French flag to be replaced by the Madagascar flag in the French concessions, and France was saying it's time for war now. And with that, France invaded Madagascar in 1883 in what became known as the First Franco-Hova War, seeking to restore the cancelled concessions. The decision was taken to send in the naval division of Admiral Letembre, and the French under Admiral Pierre bombarded the northwest coast and occupied the island in May of 1885. A column brought an ultimatum to Antananarivo, asking for recognition of French rights in northeastern Madagascar, a French protectorate over the Sakalava, recognition of French property and principles, and an indemnity of 1.5 million francs. With the signing of the Treaty of Tamatave in January of 1886, the war ended. Madagascar ceded the region of Antsiranana to the French in the northeast coast and paid a hefty fine of 10 million francs. The treaty concluded that an instructive letter, which was to clarify the treaty, was to be sent but was never actually presented to the French Parliament, and they voted to ratify the treaty. This new treaty essentially gave France control over Malagasy foreign policy, and the French government used this to exert increasing control and authority over the territory. However, a protectorate was not formally declared over the entire island. The terms and impositions of the treaty were not fully agreed to, however, by Madagascar, and the situation quickly changed when the British recognized a French protectorate of Madagascar in September of 1890 in return for eventual British control over Zanzibar and as part of an overall definition of spheres of influence in Africa. With the opening of the Suez Canal, the strategic significance of Madagascar then declined. A second Franco-Hova War then ensued, and the French actually started to build roads along the ways as they started to advance through the country. And by August of 1895, the French were only midway at Andriba, where they were numerously met by Madagascar's fortifications, but only saw limited fighting. Disease, especially malaria, but also dysentery and typhoid fever, plagued the French Expeditionary Corps. The expedition was a medical disaster, with about a third of the force dying of disease. Altogether, there were 6,000 deaths in the expedition, 4/5 of them were French. King Raineliavari prepared to defend his island from the French military invasion by sending Colonel Cheverinton, who was his military advisor, to go purchase more arms from Europe to fight against the French. The French administration was determined to bring about a full protectorate on the island this time, and evacuated its non-essential citizens from the region. Active hostilities then commenced on December 12th in 1894, when the French Marines took possession of Tamatave. General Duquesne and his flying column of Algerian and African soldiers landed in Madagascar and marched to the capital city of Antananarivo, and they were hampered by the jungle, shallow rivers, disease, and lack of roads. They finally reached the city and began their assault in the last week of September in 1895. An artillery battery was trained on the royal palace from the heights around the capital and used high explosive shells on the palace, and they killed many. The Queen then promptly surrendered. 25 French troops were killed during combat actions during the Second Madagascar expedition, with 6,000 dying of disease, compared to 4,500 Merina Kingdom deaths in combat. Despite the success of the expedition, the quelling of sporadic rebellions would take another 8 years until 1905, when the island was completely pacified under French General Joseph Galliani. During that time, insurrections against the Madagascan Christians on the island, missionaries, and foreigners were particularly terrible. Did you know about the Franco-Hova wars and expeditions to Madagascar before this video? Is there anything I should have talked more on? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.